Right, I thought I'd share you guys the progress that I've made on the second control panel. The reason that this panel is not at work right now, it's not hooked up with the sensors and running the automation on my second fish tank, is that when I finished the last video, I realized that the controller was actually acting weird. The issue was there's a function here that tells the uptime, so it's a simple counter. Every midnight it actually adds one more day, but this counter was acting weird, was adding days at random. So I figured out it had to be a communication issue between the real-time clock and the main microcontroller over there, and I was correct. So it was an issue with the I2C communications. My first attempt to solve it, I figured out, well, it has to be something related with the wiring, because it was actually working fine before that. So maybe a poor connection or a intermittent problem, something like that. So I replaced the wire and the problem continued. So my next assumption was maybe there's something with this input-output card module that's not working, it's interfering. Maybe interference from the triax. So I unhooked the connection here and the problem continued. So my next assumption was it has to be something related with the Wi-Fi section. So I took it off the Pt2 and the problem continues. So my next assumption was, well, it gotta be the power supply, because before I was actually powering it from a 12 volt external power supply from a computer, and was working alright. So I took the power supply out of it, this guy right here, and hooked it up with the old power supply, and just like that the problem disappeared. So it was a faulty power supply, this one right here. So I went and get myself a new one. I bought another power supply. It's actually smaller, but same voltage, same power, 12 volts, 5 amps. And just like that, it solved all my problems. The system was running. I was running some tests for 2 days, and everything seems to be working alright, hunky-dory. So yeah, gotta be some sort of, since it's messing with the I2C communication, that's a high frequency communication, has to be some sort of noise, maybe harmonics. So I really don't have the necessary equipment to run some tests on this power supply here, but when I do, I'm gonna let you guys know what seems to be the issue. But well, that's a solved problem. I'm happy like that. Now I can move on and actually connect everything, put it to good use. And as you guys can see, it's quite a mess over here. This is why I really love electrical rails. You can push all the wires inside here, and you really don't need to look at this wiring mess. The control panel looks very professional this way. I just love it. So I was running some tests. Here is the actual temperature probe that I assembled for the second tank. Let's hook it up here. This jumper wire is just giving me 5 volts on the level input. So I got simulated level. That's a subject for another video, but I decided to actually go with a pressure sensor, the MPX5010. It's a 1.5 psi maximum pressure sensor. This gives roughly 1 meter of water column height, which is perfect for this application for 1 cubic meter fish tank. So I'm gonna be measuring the level that way. I'm also gonna add a flow sensor and a valve, the main valve, so the controller can replace water, can actually add water to compensate for normal evaporation. I'll be adding a light sensor, a low food sensor, so it's essentially all the inputs all the sensors that I have on the main tank, I'll be adding to this second tank as well. The only difference will be that I'm not going to be using the auxiliary output for now, the auxiliary valve for now. The radial flow filter, that's this connection here, the radial flow filter pump. I don't have a radial flow filter, so there's no radial flow filter pump. Same thing with the high pressure pump. I really don't have a use for it, but everything else will be the same. I can actually demonstrate right now that this system is actually working the way it should. I already have a second supervisory screen, my program that was made in LabVIEW, so it's actually pulling data from the web page that's hosted on the Pt2, and the counter that I was talking about is actually this one. It should be a 0. It should only add 1 at midnight. Add 1 more day at midnight. So right now it's actually working as it should. Only thing left is actually put the rail back, add the circuit breaker and the RCD that are missing over here, and I'll be ready to go. Yeah, make sure I don't touch this because this is actually the live connection. Alright, thanks for watching.